All right, hey guys, so it's been a while since I've done a video. This can be like a short in-between video, but I don't want you guys to think that I just haven't been doing anything on the Scout project. So I'm gonna fill you in on a little bit of what I've been doing. And still have the body off. Got the new motor in. I'm having a few issues with the motor that I'm still trying to figure out. And if any of you guys have an idea on this, I would appreciate any input. But it is a 4.3 running 411 PCM. It's running a 2002 S10 ZR2 tune on the computer. My problem is the motor runs fine, but if I plug in the mass airflow meter, it runs fine for a few seconds and then it'll start stumbling and eventually usually die. So what I've done, I have replaced the mass airflow meter with a cheap Amazon mass airflow meter and found out that that is not a good idea. So I've got an AC Delco mass airflow meter, should be here tomorrow. I was not running the airbox. I put the airbox on to restrict airflow. That didn't make a difference. I have replaced the throttle body gasket. I have replaced the PCV valve. I have replaced the throttle position sensor. I have replaced the idle air control. It's got new plug wires. It's got new plugs. It's got a new oxygen sensor on the front O2 sensor. I have not replaced the back one. So I'm kind of at a loss. I've checked grounds. I did go ahead and order intake manifold gaskets just in case, because when I was first trying to fire up this motor, I did have some backfires. I had a bad tune in it. And it did pop a few times and popped that PCV valve out of the intake and broke it. So I'm hoping maybe between the new mass airflow meter and the new intake gaskets, that will help with my issue. But I want to make sure I get it running great before I throw the body back on, because it's going to be next to impossible to change this motor if I have to do something with the body on. Because if you've seen Pratt's workshop videos, you know that motor sits real close to the front. So I have been ordering parts. I've got parts stockpiled so I can get to work. I have a new small block Chevy 3-pass radiator there that I'm waiting to hook up. And that's another thing. One thing I learned about these 4.3s that somebody mentioned in one of my comments on another social media page was that it gets all the fuel map readings off, or it works in conjunction with the coolant temperature sensor, which I had no idea that would even correlate, but I have not hooked up a radiator. I'll just run it for like 30 seconds at a time to test. So maybe it's just that it's not sensing a coolant temperature. I don't know. So anyway, back onto the Scout. I got that radiator, like I said. I've been working. I just patched the bottom panel today. That was, you can see right here, that is what came out of there. It needed to be patched. So that is patched. I've still got to do a little patch on that other side. These panels down here, these are like guards for the bumper, the wraparound bumper. I need to get that off. It's going to take some body work there. It did have hooks down the side. I've got those holes patched up. The worst spot, and I've got a patch panel ordered for this, and this is pretty typical on these Scouts. It's rusted out right there, so I've got a patch panel for that to cut and weld in. It had a big crease down through here that somebody just filled in with filler. They didn't even try to pull that out, but I got one of these stud welders to pull dents. That thing is awesome. It's not a cure-all, but for panels that you can't get behind with a dolly, it sure makes it nice to be able to pull it out at least most of the way and get it as smooth as you can before you start doing, you know, any epoxy primer and then body filler. But anyway, I got that going on. I've been cleaning up the engine bay. I got all the old wiring out and cut off. And I did have to weld a little patch panel in down here because somebody just cut a hole for something and then just took a piece of sheet metal and bolted it on, didn't weld it or anything. So I got that patched up. I've got to clean all this up because my wife for Christmas got me some Raptor liner kits. So I'm gonna have to sand all that down. It's finally getting to the time of year where I can paint. So it's been too cold. Like last week here in Arkansas, I think we got like down to -18 wind chill, but as typical Arkansas weather, today it's like 75 degrees. So I'm almost to the temperature where I can start painting again. So I'll have to get all that stripped off so I can epoxy primer the engine bay, so then I can spray the Raptor liner. After that's on and the engine is all good and I'm satisfied with that, I can drop that back on to the frame. I might just go ahead and paint it on this dolly I've got created. That might make things easier. I don't know. I might also be worried about scratching it up, dropping it onto the body. We'll see. As far as other parts I got a whole pile of parts here. I've got radiator mounts. I have, that is not for the Scout, that's for something else. I got a derail transmission cooler with electric fan. I've got a full painless wiring harness. I've got electric fans for the radiator. I have a complete, I can't remember what company it's from, but it's a power brake kit that will mount to the firewall in the factory location. It's got a brake booster, master cylinder and all that, and a special bracket that will adapt it so I can run the power brake system on the factory firewall. So anyway, guys, that's where I'm at. I am making slow progress. It's been really slow because of the cold weather, like I said, and without being able, like I'm basically at the point of starting to do body work, but if it's not warm enough to spray epoxy primer, I'm doing this different than the blue truck. The blue truck I did body filler and then epoxy primer over it. Found out that maybe wasn't the best idea, so with this one, I'm gonna try to make it nicer than the blue truck paint job and epoxy primer the whole thing, and then start doing body filler over the epoxy primer like most people do. And then once that's done, we can paint it, and that's about it. I'm also going to Raptor line the inside, and the top I have back there leaned up. I'll have to sand that down, epoxy primer that, and also spray that with Raptor liner. But the only big parts I think I have left is I'm gonna buy new hinges, because as you can see, this hinge pin is just kind of pulled out and it's frozen. This one somebody just drove a bolt into. I've heard it's a nightmare to get those out. So new hinges are 400 bucks for a set for these doors. Not excited about that, but it needs them. So I got to get hinges, and I think really the last big expense is probably going to be gauges and shifters. So got most of the parts bought. Now it's just time to do the really crappy work of Bodywork. So I will update you guys as soon as I have something new to show, but just to let you know, I am still working on it. Still hoping to have this done in this summer, hopefully. So maybe another 4 months or so. I don't know, we'll see. But thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.